Up on the demo kitchen, we've got Tom Green from the Old Blokes kitchen. Tom Green, who's making remarkable things with homemade smokies and homegrown tomatoes. Are they homegrown tomatoes? There we go. Okay, so thank you, Tom.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, you can. Right. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Green. Now, people wonder why I'm here, and let me tell you a little bit about me, and then you'll understand what I'm doing. For a job, I'm what they call a wheelwright. I make carriage wheels, so I'm a really obvious person to come and talk about some things at a food fair, aren't I? But luckily I've been connected with Capel Manor College and hence 40 Hall Farm for more years than any of us care to remember. And if you're a wheelwright, in the olden days, the wheelwright would just make the wooden bits, and then he'd give it to the blacksmith, and the blacksmith would then put the steel tie around. And then you'd give it to the wainwright, and then you'd give it to the trimmers who would then put all the upholstery in. And these days, all of those trades don't exist. So if you want to do one bit, you've got to do all of those bits. So I've ended up with the weirdest set of craft skills the world has ever known, which means I get a lot of fun. So what I do is I make things, all sorts of strange things, and I have a YouTube channel which is called Heritage Craft. And hopefully after today you'll all go and see all these marvellous videos that I've made about the various things that I've made. Ranging from, we started off doing wheels, I've done settees, I've done the most popular one is how to make a cedarwood hot tub, and I've made myself a hot tub, and I must say a very nice thing it is to do.
And how many viewers have you got, you said?
I've got 2 million views.
2 million views. Okay.
And about 14,000 subscribers. But I'm hoping today I'm going to get a few more. So, what I end up making all kinds of strange things. And a little while ago, I decided I was going to do a cooking channel. Because I'm a middle-aged man, I like to cook things, I like to burn things, I like to have a fire. So as a consequence, I started part of the channel, which is called the Old Blokes Kitchen, with a little subtitle entitled Fun with Fire. And when they said to me today, could I come and do something? I thought about it, so I've made myself this box. This is the first time it's been seen in public. And what this is a food dehydrator, which actually smokes things at the same time. Now, you can't buy any of these. Anything I talk about today, you can't buy. I'm the only person today who's not trying to sell you anything. You can watch the videos, you can learn how to make your own, and hopefully you will make your own, and then you can do it for yourself and you discover how good it is. Now what this box does is it smokes the food and then it dehydrates the food. So for the moment I'm going to show you how we're going to smoke it, and then later on we'll set it up over there, would you believe, next to the no smoking sign, and then we'll get the whole thing going and you can be there for the course of the afternoon. And if you want to come and talk to me in the course of the afternoon, you'll be more than welcome, otherwise I'm going to be very lonely. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start off by cutting some tomatoes. Now these are 40 Hall Farm tomatoes. 2 hours ago these were on the vine, so they're about as fresh as a tomato as it's possible to get. I'm cutting them into about 6mm segments, and I'm just going to lay them out on this tray. The whole smoker was built around these trays. Marks and Spencer's finest cake trays. If you make ones of yourself, get the cake trays first, and then you can work out what size smoker you need. Now I come at this from a slightly unusual, I told you I'm a wheelwright, so that's quite unusual to start with. The other part of my food story, which is relevant, is that several years ago, one of the members of my family was diagnosed with a nut allergy. Now, does anybody here have to deal with anybody who's got a nut allergy? No? Oh, there's a few, yeah. You'll know that if you have a nut allergy, life becomes very difficult. Now, some people are just allergic to peanuts, and some people have a proper nut allergy, so you're allergic to all sorts of things. And what this means is that you can't have anything that's a nut product. And one of the most things that you come across most often is vegetable oil. We've all used vegetable oil, but vegetable oil is one of those sort of catch-all terms that can mean absolutely anything. And it's one of those things that the food industry use all the time. And they use it as a lubricant, also. And vegetable oil can be anything. But one of the things it can be is it can be peanut oil. And if you have a nut allergy, peanut oil is not a very good thing to be having. So if you have a nut allergy, you find yourself reading every single label in the supermarket. If you have to live with somebody who's got a nut allergy, you've either got to learn to make 2 sets of food, which is a ridiculous situation, or you find yourself that your diet goes down and down and down, because there's all sorts of things you can't have. Now this came into our family. The first thing that we found we couldn't have is I couldn't have gravy. Now I'm a middle-aged man, I like gravy. Of course I like gravy, we all like gravy. But if you look at the prepared gravies that you buy in your supermarkets, they all include vegetable oil. So you can't have gravy. Now you can accept that, you can say, well alright, I won't have gravy then. But I like gravy. So I started I set off on down this little food journey of making ingredients, which is why I get to where we are today. So I started off, first of all, the first thing I ever made was mushroom ketchup. Dead easy. It's as simple as you can. Mushroom ketchup, have a go. After that I then went on to do plum and ginger stir-fry sauce. It doesn't take a lot of business to do, and if you make an enormous pot of it, 5 or 6 litres at a time, that will last you for 2 years. So it's just a question of, we'll do a big pot, bottle it all up, 2 years, and you won't need to make it again. But you'll end up with much, much better food, which is why we get to where we are today. So we've got our tomatoes, and I'm going to put them in the dehydrator like that. Now, the first thing we want is some smoke. Now this is the one thing you can buy, but not from me. Anybody ever tried smoking food? Yeah, you've tried? Anybody else? Smoking food is the greatest thing you'll ever do. No, that's not true. Everything's the greatest thing as far as I'm concerned. But smoking food is quite good fun. There's 2 different types of smoking food, or 3 if you include this one. Cold smoking, hot smoking, or this version we sort of mildly warm smoking. So today we're going to do cold smoking. As the name suggests, we're not creating any heat. What we want is smoke, we don't want heat. So I use this thing here, which is called a smoke cube. You can buy them online, 30 quid, you've done it. And I've filled it with sawdust. Now obviously the sawdust that you use makes quite a difference. So today I'm using maple wood. When you smell that in a moment, or if you come and see me over there in a moment, you'll discover that what you get is a very, very sweet smoke. For doing tomatoes, brilliant. You can use hickory, you can use beech, you can use oak if you really want to, but I find that makes a very sort of acrid sort of smell, which I don't like it. But all I'm going to do is just light this, and this is a very clever little device, and so you light this tea light, slide that underneath there, and what we'll do is we'll put that in the bottom of there, and providing our tea light doesn't go out, what will happen in a moment is that will set fire to the smoke or the sawdust that's in there, and that will just create a smoke. Now, as I say, this was made specially for the occasion, so I put a perspex door on it. In a moment we'll shut the perspex door, and then we'll let the smoke build up inside. And we'll leave that to smoke for about an hour, and that will impart the smoke flavour into our tomatoes. when I decided I was going to make this, the bit I was really after, I was trying to make smoked paprika. I really like smoked paprika. That's a nice thing as far as I'm concerned. So what I want to do, I've grown some Hungarian peppers. They're on my workshop window. And I've been growing those all summer. And so theoretically in a few weeks' time, they'll be ready. I can put them into there, dry them, dehydrate them, turn them into powder, and I've got homemade smoked paprika. How good is that? It's taken it to a ridiculous level, isn't it? We'll let that go. When we're finished here, come over and see us, as I say, over there, next to the no smoking sign, and you can come and see what it actually works like. Now we'll leave that going, and what you end up with, it depends on what part of the process you want to take it to. If we just carried on now, it would just smoke what we've got. Start to see the smoke coming out the top. Now, coal smoking, you can do all sorts of things. The most popular one I like to do is smoked cheese. Brie in particular, that works very nicely, but a decent cheddar. Double Gloucester works nicely. Smoked salmon. Make your own smoked salmon, how good is that? And it's dead easy. I mean, people do it, all you need is a container. It doesn't have to be a fancy container like this. There are old videos you can see on YouTube, people doing it in cardboard boxes. I don't necessarily agree you should do that, but anything you can smoke. If you do hot smoking, which is now quite a popular thing, and Americans now call it barbecue, and this is where you're using heat as well as, so we're having a fire, but it needs to be an indirect fire. So if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see there's a hot smoker that I have. It's an enormous, great big concrete box in my back garden. And then we have a fire at the bottom, and then we have a couple of baffle plates with a thing of water, and then we cook upwards. And so you can do brisket, you can do pulled pork. My wife is particularly pleased. Every Christmas Day I cook the turkey in the hot smoker. And so that way she doesn't have to cook the turkey. So she thinks it's the marvellous thing in life. And it makes for a really nice Christmas dinner. That's hot smoking. This is halfway between the two. So as you can see, our smoke is starting to come up, but you will also see there's a blooming great big hole at the back. In a moment when we take it over there, we then have another box which connects onto the back of here, and that has a fire in it. It's a charcoal fire, and then that will then introduce heat through the back. We put it up with this fan at the top, because what we want is a constant airflow of, not hot air, but we don't want cold air, we want warm air. And it pulls it up through the top, and for about 16 hours is what it'll take in order to dehydrate these to a certain point. Now after about 5 or 6 hours, you can stop and you get to that point, and this is the equivalent of sun-dried tomatoes, smoke-dried tomatoes. I really like those, they work nicely, they taste nice. The olive oil after it's infused with the tomatoes and the smoke, gorgeous. However, we can take it further, and I like to take things further. So, if we take it all the way down to the ends, after about 16, 18 hours, we end up with little bits of tomato like this. These are some that I did on Saturday. That started out as 2 kilograms of tomato. So we've gone from 2 kilograms of tomato to that. We can put them in our coffee grinder. I also did an experiment on Saturday which we haven't tried yet. We did some mushrooms. So theoretically we should be able to end up with mushroom powder. So stick it in the coffee grinder. A little bit more. And we'll grind this into a powder. Now our 2 kilograms of tomatoes, by the time we're finished, ends up as a really fine powder, and if you put it into a standard jam jar, comes about that far up the top of a jam jar. So you've concentrated your tomatoes, or whatever it is you're trying to do, down into a really, really fine powder. And come and see us in a moment and you can see what the powder comes out like. And that works really nicely. You can now use that as an additive for anything. You know, if you're a vegan, you've just got yourself a lovely vegan flavour. If you're a meat eater like me, then you can use it for just about anything. Works really well in mayonnaise. You stick it on tomatoes, spaghetti bolognese. We did some rösti the other day. If you make your own bread, tomato flavoured bread, lovely. You can use it for anything. It's a lovely thing. But I am going to do something with it. My most recent video was a series of videos. I'm trying to keep watch at the time because I don't want to bore you for too long. Is I did a series of videos on the Old Blokes Kitchen on how to make a bacon sandwich. Now, what a boring thing. I can see you're really excited at the thought of someone making a bacon sandwich. And if you look on YouTube, you will find videos of people making bacon sandwiches that consist of, you know, let's get 2 slices of sliced bread and we put a bit of butter on them and we'll grill some bacon and job done. We made a bacon sandwich. Well, that's not the Old Blokes Kitchen way of doing things. My theory is that if you make all of the ingredients and you make all the bits and pieces that you need in order to make the ingredients, you end up with a superb end result. So that's what I did. So the first video, I make the bacon, cure my own bacon. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. And if you never do anything else at home for cooking for yourself, making your own ingredients, making your own bacon, for the amount of effort you need to do in order to do it, gets you the best end result. It will take you 5 minutes to do it, but the end result, magnificent. No effort at all. You don't need any fancy equipment. There you are. That's the fancy equipment that you need, a Tupperware box. And we need some pork as well. I can see you're intrigued. So the first video shows you how to make the bacon, and then we use the skin of the bacon in order to make pork scratchings. Lovely. Middle-aged men, we like pork scratchings, don't we, chaps? Oh, blimey, are we still awake? Right. We all like pork scratchings. And I make the pork scratchings in an oven, which is a wood-fired oven that I just happen to have built in the back garden. So that's the first video. In the second video, we then smoke the bacon in the smoker. We also make the butter. And again, if you've never made butter, if you've got children, have a look at the video. It's the greatest fun you've ever done. Really easy to do. You need some double cream and a food mixer and a bit of salt. It's very simple. The video will show you how to do it. We then take the butter and we then smoke the butter. So we end up with smoked butter. Now that's really nice. Somebody put me onto that. I was really pleased with that one. The third video, the last part of that video is we then make the brown sauce. Because you've got to have brown sauce. No bacon sandwich is complete without brown sauce. And we show you how to make this fruity brown sauce. In the third video, we make the bread, of course, cooked in the oven. And then we slice the bacon and we cook the bacon in a frying pan that I also happen to have made. So this takes it to a ridiculous level. But the end result is magnificent. And I'm not going to share it with anybody. You know, you see these videos, these cooking videos, where they get all your friends and family around, you know, let's come along and have some of the stuff that I've made. You will notice on my videos that never happens. You know, why would I want to share all the good stuff with people? Anyway, as you can see, I'm really chefy, and I've got this really organised. So the first thing you need to do is go and find yourself a decent butcher's. Now, I'm a local man. I live a couple of 100 metres away from here, and so we go to a very good butcher's in Baker Street, Smith's of Baker Street. I'm sure you all know it. Lovely people. And if you talk to them nicely, and they'll do you a bit of bacon, or a bit of, you want a piece of back pork, and you're ready to make your bacon. So there's your bit of pork. Now, we need a cure. Now you can do all sorts of fancy cures if you really want to. The easiest way to do it, now this is about 1 kilo of pork I've got. So in this packet here, I've got 110 grams of salt. Now normally with my stuff I don't bother putting preservatives in because it's never going to be hanging around long enough to worry about it going off. But when you're making bacon, it's probably best to consider a preservative. So there's a preservative you can buy online called Prague powder, and you mix it in with the salt and it stops botulism. And I don't think I want botulism, so maybe I will have something to go with it. So this comes pre-mixed with a little bit of Prague powder, a couple of grams. I've got 100 grams of sugar. If you don't want to write this down, look at the video. It will show you how to do it. I like smoked paprika. So I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of paprika. And I really like bacon, lettuce and tomato sandwiches. So why don't we put the tomatoes in the cure, and then that way I don't need to worry about it. So if we put some of that in as well, we end up with a very, very tomatoey mix. Mix it all together. And then you put that over the top of your pork, rub it in, make sure you get it into all those little places, layer it on, and this is the most complicated part. Now if you think you can do that, how difficult can it be? Have I inspired anybody to try it? So once you've got it all layered on, you put the lid on, you stick it in the fridge, and you leave it there for 4 days. At the end of 4 days, wash it thoroughly under the tap. That's bacon. You've just made yourself bacon. Now if you want to take it further, if you've got around to making yourself a smoker, then you can smoke it, and that makes it even nicer. But if you don't want to do smoked bacon, just cut it into little tiny pieces. Don't tell the kids because it's too good for them. And that's how to make bacon. The last bit is, I won't do it now, but because they're a nice butchers, they gave me the skin as well. Now this is my treat. So get yourself a plate, put it on the plate, salt on the top, turn it over, salt on the back, put it in the fridge overnight, don't cover it, we want it to evaporate. The next day, put it in the oven, 200 degrees for 20 minutes, and then leave it for another hour, about 150. And that will crisp up into pork scratchings. As it is, really nice. If you prefer, you want to sprinkle some paprika over the top, or herbs, or whatever your particular thing is, put that in. It's God's answer to marvellous things, isn't it? Pork scratchings, homemade pork scratchings is as good as it gets. In my world, that is as good as it gets, which just shows what a sad world I live in. But, there you go. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do for you today. If anybody has any questions, I won't bother taking them now because unless they particularly want to ask me. But if not, come over and see me over there in about 20 minutes when we've got this working properly with the heat. You can start to see the smoke. Come and ask your questions, come and have a chat. I'll be delighted to see you. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.